Welcome to the Electric Playground. Today on the show, a wild Pokemon game appears in the rundown.
Plus, apparently the maze was just the beginning. We go behind the scenes of the Scorch trial.
I just need to know, whose side are you on?
And then we explore dungeons with friends in the Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. Also coming up, we explore more dungeons with our friend Stephen Raju in Guild of Dungeoneering. We get definitive about Dishonored and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest and everything cool every single day. Rundown, I choose you. Pokemon fans will soon be able to catch them all in the real world. The Pokemon Company and Nintendo are teaming up with Niantic Labs to create an augmented reality game called Pokemon Go. Similar to Niantic's AR game Ingress, the gameplay is based around real-world exploration, with players searching their neighborhoods and using cameras on their phones to find virtual Pokemon. Like any good Pokemon trainer, you'll be able to catch them and then use them to battle and trade with other players. Pokemon Go will launch on iOS and Android devices next year. This is not one of the new mobile games that Nintendo is developing with their new partner DNA. The announcements on those will start rolling out before the end of this year. The big expansion to Shovel Knight is free, but there's a catch. The game's new Plague of Shadows DLC launches today on all platforms, giving players a new campaign with a new playable character, and best of all, it's completely free if you've already bought the game. Here's the catch. You'll need to have finished the main campaign first in order to play. That means you'll need to finish the whole thing before moving on to Plague of Shadows, and given how challenging the main game can be, that might cause you some trouble. The DLC isn't the only new Shovel Knight action. The special amiibo figure compatible with the 3DS and Wii U versions will hit stores before the end of the year. We've got Pokemon and Shovel Knight to talk about. Here's our own Charmander to help me get through this, my friend. What do you think of this AR Pokemon idea?
That's me throwing my Pokeball right at it.
Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it catches on with everybody. Like, there are a lot of Poke freaks out there, like myself.
Who now have cell phones.
That will be into this.
Some free time.
I am going to be heavy into this, but I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how ridiculous I'm going to look out there in the wild with my, you know what I mean? Like, some people might be hesitant.
Geocaching is amazing, though. It's been around for a long time. I remember Jose, every time we would go on trips together, he would always be geocaching. And I think adding this element of game, like sort of video game quality to this, especially with the brand so well known, this is going to be huge.
It is going to be huge because Pokemon is huge. Pokemon has been such a big part of my life just growing up, and I feel like more and more adults play this game. So you're going to see a lot of adults out there doing this Poke catching. I love that I have this tie-in with my nieces and nephews as well because they love the game too. So you have this family thing that you can do together. I don't know how these fights are going to go down though when you meet up with just strangers on the street.
There could be some
I'm
knives
going
come out.
to throw down. If you come anywhere near my Piplup, I will lose it.
This could turn out to be a whole new thing for all the street gangs that are out there, right?
Just don't steal my Pokemon. The Pokemon that I have, I don't want you to have.
I'm excited for that one. For sure. I'm also excited to play this DLC for Shovel Knight, but
I don't know if I'm ever going to play it.
Yes.
I appreciate that the developers are purists. You know, they are hardcore gamers, and they want you to be a hardcore gamer too when you're playing this game. I feel like I am. I just don't have the skills to back it up. I'm happy that they're giving something free to the fans out there, and I guess that really is it. This is complete fan service for people that are obsessed with the game, that play the game through and through.
Well, Yacht Club is on fire, and I think that they are definitely having their moment in the sun, and it's a wonderful story, this whole thing, the amiibo for Shovel Knight, all of it. They've turned this really weird character into a pop culture icon right now. You know, like everybody is starting to understand and get into this whole Shovel Knight vibe, and it's fantastic. All right, let's move on to movies. Let's go behind the scenes on the Maze Runner, the Scorch trials.
A lot of the film, it's us trudging through the scorched landscape, Earth, trying to find salvation. To be honest, we don't really have an awful lot of hope. We're just kind of moving. It's a traveling movie, whereas the other one, it's very confined. It was literally confined with four walls and an impossible maze outside it. And it was all about, everything that happened within that space. And then this is just a lot more open. It's vast.
We're running through sandstorms and we're trudging up dunes and we're battling cranks, you know, and soldiers, you know. It's a lot different, I guess, than the first one, like physical action-wise, but I think there's a lot more, funny enough.
I think a lot of people would say that, you know, Maze Runner was physical and it was hot. You know, it was hot in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, like 100 and something degrees. But this is different, you know. Albuquerque's a different beast. It's a mile-high city, so it's like, you know, 5,200 feet above sea level, and it's already hard to grab for air. And then when you're running up sand dunes, and, you know, when you're running in and out of tunnels, or, you know, streaking back from the helicopter to the safe haven, it's like, you're really doing this stuff. You know, it's like, we are really doing this stuff. So physically, it's been just exhausting, and it's been tough, but it's definitely been worth it.
It's literally just a desert, you know? We're just racing across with the wind and sand blowing in our faces, and we go to different locales like Crankland and places like that, which, if you can imagine, like a post-apocalyptic rundown, you know, half broken down buildings, blasted by bombs, what have you. So it's a very depleted and depressing environment.
Harriet is the leader of a group of girls that escaped a maze B, you know, like another maze, and she's now found this group of people who are like her resistance called the Right Arm. So she's kind of fighting the fight with these people, so that's pretty cool.
Thomas, thank you for seeing me. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I was just hoping we might get a moment to chat in private.
I play a character called Jansen who enters the story. I'm not quite sure who he is, but as far as the kids are concerned, this is a guy who's a kind of savior, some kind of rebel leader that they're not quite sure about, but what they are sure about is that he presents them with a way out, a safe haven.
I'm sorry, Armando.
Looks like you're tagged. You came from Wicked.
The second script really soars. I think there's just a lot more action due to the circumstance that's really real that's written. And I think the fans are going to be really pleased with the new characters that come into the piece and with the heightened element of drama and overcoming the Wicked. It's going to be just really phenomenal.
The Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials comes out tomorrow, and yes, we're going to have a review of that movie right here.
Obviously,
of course.
we will. You and me, my friend. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, we've got Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes.
Hi, I'm Leland Chi. I'm Keeper of the Holocron for the Lucasfilm Story Group. This celebration has been amazing. Like, every day there's been a new incredible moment, whether it's the Force Awakens trailer coming out yesterday, seeing BB-8 roll out. But I think my greatest moment happened yesterday, which is just a fantasy come true. At the Battlefront area over there, they have a thing where you can dress up as an X-Wing pilot and get into the cockpit and be an X-Wing pilot. And then they shoot video behind you. That was just a dream come true. Just being the pilot, and I acted the part. I was screaming, and you got the gloves on, and it was just fantastic. So that thing where you can become part of Star Wars is what makes Celebration for me.
Chewie, we're home.
First, I have to confess something. I've never said this on the show before. I am in love with these Star Wars memories. Thank you, Leland Chi.
Well, I don't know if you ever admitted this, but this was actually your idea, the Star Wars memories. So,
I don't
take
need a lot of
credit.
credit. The way you like the spotlight, I'm okay outside the spotlight.
Okay, sure. You know, the new Zelda game hitting the 3DS. It is called The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, and Jose got a closer look.
The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes is bringing a little more action-packed excitement to the world of The Legend of Zelda. Tell me a little bit about what are the Triforce Heroes?
So the Triforce Heroes are really you and two other friends. So what you want to do is grab 3 people. You guys can all play as, name your favorite character, Link probably, but you have 3 Links, I suppose. And you go together and you go through dungeons and you solve puzzles together. So it's a very cooperative, 3-player, like top-down Legend of Zelda game. So a lot of fun.
Now, why 3? I mean, I guess Triforce makes sense, but what is it about that 3 that's just the perfect amount of players for the game?
And I think the number 3 lends itself really well to that's something called the totem mechanic. The totem mechanic is where you can grab another player, kind of put them on your shoulders, and then another player can put, those 2 people on their shoulders, so you have a stack 3 high. A lot of the puzzles in the game are designed around, sometimes you may have to stack 3 people high. 4 people was a little too much.
Sure.
So 3 people was like that optimal thing for, okay, we can have some puzzle that's here, the 3rd person level, where like you'll pick up a bomb, I'll pick you up, someone else will pick us up, then you should throw the bomb because it's at your level. Everyone shares 1 health bar. So if you're getting hit, I'm kind of getting hit too. So it's always about that cooperative nature of the game. So we really want people to cooperate because that's how you get through it, man. Especially with some of the harder like dungeons and some of the monsters and stuff, you're gonna want to cooperate.
And with the Legend of Zelda games, we always see epic dungeons and bosses. Are we gonna see the same style of gameplay that we've seen in previous Zelda games?
There's a couple things that make it a little different than past Zelda games. One of them is you get to choose your clothing and it does different things. So for example, before you go into a dungeon or a level, you can pick a certain type of clothing. If you pick something like Kokiri clothing, if there's an arrow in the level, you can shoot instead of 1 arrow, you'll shoot 3. If you pick up something like one of the new ones that we're talking about today, which is the cozy parka, it's a nice little jacket that you wear, and if you're going to a snow-filled place or if it's cold, you want to wear that because if you're on ice, you won't slip, but everyone else will. There's a couple advantages, so you really want to pick and choose your different methods of clothing and see how you can tackle those particular problems depending on the clothing that you wear and depending on what items that are in the level, whether it's boomerangs and bombs or fire gloves that'll get chuck fireballs.
Now, can you mix and match? Can I wear like a cozy parka with some like epic gloves, maybe a crazy hat, do all kinds of different abilities, or it's just you get one select ability for whatever outfit you're wearing?
They're actually 2 independent things. So before you go into a dungeon, you select your clothing, right? So you have one whole getup. So whether it's a cozy parka, whether it's a Kokiri outfit, the Zelda dress, that's really awesome. So if you let's say you dress up with the Zelda dress, right? You get in there, and then depending on what level you're in, they will give you an item to pick up and use as your Y button. So if we're in the snow thing, you'll probably get 1 boomerang because you're gonna need to bring people over gaps, and then you'll have 2 the fire gloves. So no matter what you're wearing, those items in the level always stay the same, and you can divvy up and talk about who wants to get what depending on what you're wearing.
The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes comes out October 23rd.
Also, Victor Lucas, I will not be here that day. Mysterious absence, mysterious absence. Now it's time for our old friends, Steve and Raju, to join us. They have a game called Guild of Dungeoneering. Ooh. Here's the review.
This is the Guild of Dungeoneering. On our quest, we're never veering. Oh, to be a Dungeoneer, swimming in pools of gold.
Being the Steam guys, we often look at some really neat indie games that marry a couple genres. Today we're looking at a game called Guild of Dungeoneering, which, to be honest, I don't think I can define what it is.
No, I don't think it falls in any one category.
So it's absolutely based on the idea of a dungeon crawler.
Right.
However, after that, things get a little bit weird. So this is a combination of a dungeon crawler, card battler, turn-based, tactical-ish game, even though the tactical is very, very light. It's a very, very strange game. Really, really charming, though. I have to say, the first thing that got me is there's like jaunty music, and like the background looks as if it's pen and paper, a grid pattern. Each level you get cards that will let you build up your guild, but then also cards that let you explore into dungeons and then add rooms and all sorts of monsters and stuff to sort of build up this dungeon. Very, very weird mix. Yeah. Extremely charming, though.
The basic idea here is you are exploring dungeons, but instead of exploring a dungeon that's been made for you or randomly generated, you're dealt a hand of cards and you are creating the dungeon with the cards you're dealt. And you're laying down dungeon tile, like corridors and rooms or like sections of jungles, and you're going into these dungeons, placing down monsters, placing down loot to pick up. And the idea is each dungeon has an objective, whether it's kill X number of monsters, kill a boss, retrieve an item, get out within 10 turns, and you got to figure out the best way to create the dungeon with your cards. And then when you engage in battles, it's kind of like a very Magic the Gathering light. It's like a card-based battle where your opponent plays a card, you're playing a card, and the result of those 2 cards determines how many hit points each of you takes. And if you die, you're gone. And if the monster dies, you continue on. It's a really weird kind of premise, but other than the fact that it's super charming, it's actually weirdly fun. guys pick up loot, and initially you're picking up things like you'll be wearing a pot on your head as a helmet, and you'll have a stick as a weapon, and a stool as a shield. And as you level up in each dungeon, you're getting better armor, better weapons, take on the more powerful monsters. It's so difficult to define.
You know what? I think this potentially could be a pretty good mobile game.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised it's not an iPad version. These guys, it's a very, very small indie studio out of Dublin, Ireland. I wouldn't be surprised if they ported it over to tablets eventually, because I think it would work really well there. I mean, other than the fact that I did feel that same sense of sameness, it still became kind of a go-to. Like if I had 5 or 10 minutes free, I just bang off a quest, and these quests stack up, and your progression, you're working towards a real sense of building something out.
See, and I think that this is the thing, that despite most tactical games, you expect that they take a long time. This is a really nice, bite-sized time waster.
Totally.
Yeah.
Guild of Dungeoneering, very charming, very cute. What are you going to score it?
7.5 out of 10 for me.
It got its hooks in me. It's an 8 out of 10 for me.
Steve and Raju are my two trusted guys for games that look kind of boring, but then they're actually kind of exciting.
We did spend a lot of time in the dungeon with this last segment. Coming up next, we've got a closer look at Dishonored. We've got a classic review.
Welcome back to EP Daily. You know, one of my favorite games on the show of all time is Dishonored. Well, a definitive edition is out now. I actually own it for the PlayStation 4. We thought we'd take a minute here and take a look back at the original version. Welcome back to Reviews on the Run at E3 2012. One of the great discoveries for me personally was Dishonored, for all of us, really. Where's this game been all my life? It is here. It arrived on our desks last week. We've been playing it like crazy. Vic, what'd you think?
Honestly, it's probably my favorite game of 2012 so far. I would be surprised that I like anything more than this game.
It's a little premature, but I'm right there with you 100%. One of my favorite things about this game is the way that the characters, not just Corvo himself, who I love as a character, he wears this really super cool mask that he puts on at the start of each mission. I love the way that the non-playable characters are so sensitive to everything in the game. Moment to moment throughout the game, you're going to encounter things that are so human. There's so much life packed into this world. I haven't seen this kind of life since BioShock.
I know, that really evokes BioShock. The storytelling is so ambitious and flavored with characters that have more than one side, you know? This is one of those games that really encourages you to play it multiple times, to go back in and try to accomplish things like beating the entire game without killing anybody, which is unbelievably possible.
For me, every step of the way, I was just knocking people unconscious. I did not want to kill anybody.
Right.
I'm not a killer. I love things. I love little furry things like cats and kittens and stuff.
Those crossbows and grenades came in handy for me.
I went through stealthily. I tried not to kill anybody. And in fact, you actually get a reward for doing that. And that's all I really want to do is go back, replay this thing, find new pathways through these levels.
Up the difficulty level.
There are wormholes through this whole thing that I haven't even discovered yet. I've probably put about 30 hours into this thing already. Yeah. And I feel like I've still just barely scratched the surface of this game.
And it's wonderful too, because one of the best abilities in the game is this blink ability, which is a lot like Nightcrawler's ability to teleport, and it's just so addictive to just zap around all over the place.
And it's so funny because at first you don't really know how to use it, and so you do feel like you've been given this gift. And then when I realized that I could blink up to higher levels and just sort of target where my little hologram is, and then blink right behind enemies who are just out of my reach, I started using this thing like crazy, and I became obsessed with using it. I also like the dark vision ability that allows you to see through walls and to see where enemies are actually looking. You get a cone of their vision, not unlike the Metal Gear series. And then you can actually upgrade all of these abilities to make them even more powerful, to become even more of a badass as you progress deeper into this experience.
You're collecting runes, and a lot of this stuff, it correlates really well with the plasmids and the augmentations that you would get in Deus Ex or in BioShock. It's very similar to those types of experiences. In fact, this feels like a steampunk version of Deus Ex with a much more refined art style. I don't think it's as realistic.
I think the gameplay is much more refined as well, much more accessible.
Totally, and it's also one of the easiest first-person platforming type of experiences I've ever played. The ability to just slide underneath things as you're running at a rapid pace, and then you slide under stuff, or you blink to assassinate a character, and then you jump and leap. All of that stuff is so elegant in this game. It's really one of the best games I've played this year.
I want to go home and play more of this right now. I can't even believe this damn thing exists. For me, it's a 10 out of 10.
It's a 10 for me, too.
Boy, it looked like Vic and I were having fun that day, and by the record, we're going to take a look at the definitive edition in an upcoming episode. Twitter question of the day is next after this.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the Electric Playground. It is time for the Twitter question of the day. This one's from Joey Jojo Jr. Shabado at Kamikaze Kid. I think he just wanted me to say a whole bunch of names in there.
I love the Simpsons reference, though, Joey Jojo.
Yeah.
Very nice.
How hard has it been for Marissa being in Vancouver while the Blue Jays are on their first potential playoff run in over 20 years?
Why you gotta cut me like that, Joey Jojo? You know how much I love your Twitter name. It's been very difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you, Mr. Lucas. It's been pretty tough. I watch as much as I can, on my stream, but I can't.
Because you used to work right near the Jays.
Well, yeah, I actually used to also work at Rogers Center as well, so I was really close to all of the action. It's been a tough go for me, but I wear my jersey a lot, and I wear my hat a lot, and I
noticed that on the streets here in Vancouver. A lot of love for the Jays.
Well, there's been a lot of bandwagon jumping so far, but it's fine. I embrace all the Blue Jay love, of course.
It's a national team now.
That's right.
Right? It's the only Major League Baseball team we have.
That's all we got.
I don't follow baseball. All right, if you want to get caught up on the show or ask us a Twitter question of the day, hit up our website, epn.tv.
On the next episode of EP Daily, we've got a mountainous review of Everest, and Scott and I get in a fight.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Asphalt 8 Airborne, which you can play on your Android or iOS device for free right now.
Destroys relationships. It's costing you all a small fortune.
Are there any negative aspects
Come
to
on,
this?
I gotta ask the question. You know I do. Why?
Why?
Because
it's there! That's why. Thank you, Mr. Mallory.
Come on, guys, I'm serious. Doug, why?
Come on, tell them about the kids.
What?
Tell them about the kids.
Yeah.
You have kids?
Yeah, I have kids. So I was thinking maybe it's they see a regular guy can, follow impossible dreams. Maybe they'll be inspired to do the same, I guess.